Picture this. I'm standing in front of a cracked mirror in our tiny bathroom, the faint hum of the city buzzing through the open window, and I'm tracing the outline of a faded heart drawn in old lipstick on the glass. That heart's been there since the day Ethan and I moved into this shoebox of an apartment, a silly little promise we made to each other 4 years ago. I'm Holly, by the way, 23 years old, and that man, Ethan, he's been my everything since we were just dumb kids in high school. We fell hard and fast, the kind of love that burns hot and reckless, and we didn't waste any time. Right after graduation, we said our I do's in a courthouse with nothing but a couple of witnesses and a cheap bouquet I bought at the grocery store. It wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. Life with Ethan hasn't always been a walk in the park, though. Don't get me wrong, I love him with every piece of me, but love doesn't pay the bills or fix the long nights we spend apart. He's a mechanic, always coming home with grease under his nails and exhaustion in his eyes after pulling double shifts at the garage. Me? I'm juggling shifts as a part-time barista while trying to chip away at my associate's degree. Most days, I'm either pouring overpriced lattes or cramming for exams in the library until my eyes blur. We're scraping by, but we've got each other, and that's always been enough. Or at least I thought it was. Last weekend, we had something special to look forward to, our 4th anniversary. 4 years of us against the world, and we wanted to celebrate it right. We don't get out much, not with our schedules, so we planned a rare night out at a local bar with the people who matter most. It felt like a breath of fresh air, a chance to let loose and just be us for a few hours. I remember picking out my outfit, this little black dress I hadn't worn in forever, and catching Ethan's eye as I twirled in front of him. He gave me that smirk of his, the one that still makes my heart skip, and pulled me close for a moment that had us both forgetting the world outside. Let's just say we shared a private celebration before we even left the house, a little reminder of why we fight so hard to make this work. Of course, no celebration of ours would be complete without Ethan's crew, his 3 best friends who've been around since the day we started dating. They're like family to us, the kind of people who've seen us at our best and worst and stuck around anyway. First, there's Adam, the charmer with a silver tongue. He's got this knack for lighting up a room, always cracking jokes or spinning stories that have everyone hanging on his every word. Then there's Jake, the easygoing one with a big house just outside town. He's the guy who... As Ethan and I stepped into the bar, the atmosphere hit me like a wave. The place was dimly lit, with neon signs flickering above the counter, one shaped like a palm tree, another buzzing with a half-dead open in electric blue. The air was thick with the scent of spilled beer and greasy fried food, the kind of smell that sticks to your clothes long after you've left. A generic pop playlist thumped through the speakers, the bass vibrating under my feet as I squeezed Ethan's hand. For once, we'd both made an effort to look the part. He was in a crisp button-down, the sleeves rolled up just enough to show off his forearms, and I'd slipped into a red dress, one I hadn't touched since our 1st anniversary. It hugged me in all the right places, and I caught his appreciative glance as we walked in, a little spark of that old fire between us. We spotted Adam, Jake, and Ryan right away, already posted up at a high-top table near the back, a cluster of empty glasses in front of them. They waved us over with big grins, and my heart lifted at the sight of familiar faces. These guys were more than just Ethan's friends. They were our people, the ones who'd been there through every late-night crisis and every small victory. We clinked glasses, the cold beer a sharp contrast to the warm buzz of excitement in my chest. Adam, ever the joker, leaned over with a sly smirk and nudged Ethan, saying, "Man, look at you, all dressed up." "Holly's got you whipped tighter than ever," Ethan just laughed, rolling his eyes as he pulled me closer, his arms snug around my waist. Jake, meanwhile, didn't waste any time, flagging down the bartender with a casual wave and ordering a round of shots for the table. The amber liquid burned going down, but it felt like a proper kickoff to the night. Ryan, quieter as always, caught my eye and gave a small nod, his way of saying he noticed the effort I'd put into my look. "Nice dress," he muttered, and I smiled, feeling a little more confident under the flickering lights. At first, everything was perfect. We were laughing, swapping stories about the old days, and toasting to 4 years of making it through thick and thin. But then I noticed Ethan reaching for shot after shot, knocking them back faster than I'd seen in a long time. His laughter grew louder, a little too sharp, and his grip on my hand loosened as he leaned more on the table for balance. Within the first hour, his words started to slur, his eyes glazing over with that distant, hazy look I knew all too well. My stomach tightened with concern. This wasn't like him. Not on a night that was supposed to be ours. I leaned in close, my voice soft but firm. "Hey, let's take it easy, okay? Maybe we can dance for a bit, or step outside for some air." But he just waved me off, his hand. After Ethan waved me off at the bar, I felt a pang of frustration, but I didn't want to ruin the night by pushing him. Instead, I let myself get swept up in the energy of the group. Jake suggested we take the party back to his place, saying his backyard was the perfect spot to keep the good vibes going. With Ethan barely able to stand, we piled into a couple of cars, and I found myself squeezed in the back seat between Adam and Ryan, the hum of the engine mixing with their low chuckles as we drove through the quiet streets. Ethan was in the front, his head leaning against the window, already half asleep. I told myself he'd be fine after some rest, and I tried to ignore the little voice in my head whispering that I should have stayed by his side. When we pulled up to Jake's house, I couldn't help but take in the sprawling layout of his property. His backyard was like something out of a dream, a massive space with a glowing pool at the center, the water shimmering under the moonlight like liquid glass. String lights were draped along the fence, casting a warm, golden glow over everything, and portable speakers blasted a pulsing beat that seemed to vibrate through the ground. The air carried the sharp tang of chlorine mixed with the lingering smoky scent of grilled burgers from earlier in the day. It was intoxicating, this little escape from reality, and I felt a rush of excitement as we spilled out of the cars and into this private oasis. The guys didn't waste any time, setting up a makeshift bar on a patio table and mixing drinks with a kind of reckless abandon. I was already feeling a buzz from the bar, my head a little light, but they kept handing me these fruity cocktails, sweet, tropical concoctions that went down way too easily. I laughed as Adam started doing impressions of Ethan's drunken stumble from earlier, exaggerating every wobbly step until we were all doubled over, clutching our sides. Jake cranked the music even louder, the bass thumping in my chest, and for once, even Ryan seemed to loosen up, the corners of his mouth twitching into a rare smile as he watched us mess around. I couldn't help but soak it all in, this feeling of being the center of attention. With Ethan's long work hours lately, I'd almost forgotten what it felt like to be seen, to be noticed like this. It was a thrill, a dangerous little spark that I didn't quite know how to handle. As the night stretched on, we migrated toward the pool, kicking off our shoes and sitting along the edge, our feet dangling in the cool water. The moonlight danced across the surface, and the playful vibe took over. We started splashing at each other, little flicks of water turning into full-on challenges. Adam dared Jake to jump in fully clothed, and when he did, we all cheered, the sound echoing into the night. I was laughing so hard my sides ached, my guard completely down as the teasing turned a shade flirtier. Adam leaned in close, his voice low as he told me I looked like something out of a painting under the moonlight. My cheeks warmed at the compliment, and I brushed it off with a nervous giggle. Then Jake, still dripping from his impromptu swim, reached over and gently tucked a stray strand of hair behind my ear, his fingers lingering just a moment too long. Ryan, usually so reserved, caught my eye across the circle, his gaze holding mine with an intensity that made my breath catch. I knew I was treading on thin ice, towing a line I shouldn't even be near, but I told myself it was harmless, just fun, just a night to let go. But then, after another drink was pressed into my hand, that line blurred completely. I don't know how it happened, how I let myself fall so far, but in a moment of reckless abandon, I crossed into territory I never thought I'd touch. I'm not going to paint every detail, but I need you to understand the weight of it. I let myself get caught up in a whirlwind with all 3 of Ethan's closest friends. It wasn't just a fleeting mistake. It was a cascade, a series of choices that unfolded under the glow of that pool. The music drowning out the I wake up with a jolt. My head pounding like a drumline's been marching through my skull all night. I'm sprawled out on Jake's couch, the rough fabric scratching against my skin, my red dress wrinkled and clinging to me in all the wrong ways. My shoes? Nowhere in sight. I blink against the harsh morning light streaming through the blinds, trying to piece together where I am and how I got here. The house is eerily quiet, a far cry from the wild energy of last night. Empty beer cans litter the coffee table, some tipped over with sticky puddles pooling beneath them, and half-eaten pizza boxes are stacked haphazardly on the floor. The stale smell of alcohol and grease hangs in the air, making my stomach churn even more than it already is. I sit up slowly, wincing as the room spins for a moment, and that's when the memories start creeping in. Fragmented, jagged pieces of a night I wish I could forget. I see flashes of myself laughing by the pool, the water reflecting the moonlight as I leaned into the warmth of the moment. I remember the playful banter, the way words turned into lingering looks, and then the betrayal. My chest tightens as the weight of it slams into me. What have I done? How could I let myself fall so far from who I thought I was? My stomach lurches, and it's not just the hangover. It's the sickening realization of how I've hurt Ethan, the one person who's always been my rock. I press a hand to my mouth, trying to steady my breathing, but the nausea, both physical and emotional, won't let go. I glance around, desperate for some kind of distraction, and spot Adam asleep on the floor a few feet away, one arm flung over his face, his breathing slow and heavy. I don't want to wake him. I can't face him, not after what happened. I stumble to my feet, careful not to make a sound, and peek into the hallway. Jake's door is cracked open, and I can see him sprawled across his bed, still in last night's clothes, completely out. There's no sign of Ryan, but as I shuffle toward the kitchen, I find a sticky note on the counter in his neat handwriting. It says he had to head out early for work. No mention of anything else. No acknowledgement of the unspoken line we all crossed. It's like there's a silent pact among us to pretend none of it ever happened, to bury the truth under a pile of empty cans and forced smiles. But I can't pretend. Not when every thought of Ethan feels like a knife twisting deeper. I need to get out of here. I can't stay in this house another second, surrounded by reminders of my failure. I rummage through Jake's hall closet, my hands shaky, and pull out an oversized hoodie. It smells faintly of his cologne, but I don't care. I just need something to cover up the mess of my dress, to hide the evidence of a night gone horribly wrong. I slip it on, the fabric swallowing me whole, and fumble with my phone to call a rideshare. My heart's racing as I wait for the car, pacing near the front door, rehearsing excuses in my head. What do I even say to Ethan? How do I look him in the eye and act like everything's fine? Every lie I come up with feels flimsier than the last, but I cling to them anyway, desperate for anything to shield me from the fallout. The ride home is a blur. I stare out the window, the city streets passing by in streaks of gray and muted color, my mind replaying every wrong choice I made. By the time I step through the door of our tiny apartment, my nerves are frayed to the breaking point. I freeze when I see Ethan. He's passed out on our couch, still in the same clothes from last night, his face slack and peaceful in a way that makes my guilt burn hotter. He has no idea, no clue about the storm raging inside me. I tiptoe past him, holding my breath, terrified that even the slightest noise might wake him and force a confrontation I'm not ready for. It's been a few days since that night at Jake's, and I'm a complete mess. Every moment feels like I'm walking on a tightrope, waiting for the inevitable fall. My phone buzzes and I nearly drop it, my heart racing with the fear that it's one of the guys, or worse, that Ethan somehow knows something. I can't shake this paranoia. It's like a shadow that follows me everywhere. Even the simplest things feel suffocating now. I'm standing in our cramped kitchen, the smell of burnt toast lingering in the air as I fumble with the coffee maker. The machine gurgles and hisses, and I can feel Ethan's eyes on me from the living room where he's sprawled on the couch, watching some rerun on TV. I keep my back to him, pretending to focus on pouring the coffee. But my hands are trembling so badly I nearly spill it. He doesn't say anything at first, just flips through channels, the sound of canned laughter grating on my nerves. Then, out of nowhere, he calls over, "Hey, how was the rest of the party after I passed out?" Didn't get to ask before his voice is casual, almost too casual, and it sends a jolt of panic through me. I force a smile, even though he can't see it, and turn just enough to glance at him over my shoulder. "Oh, it was nothing much," I say, trying to keep my tone light, like I'm not drowning in guilt. "Just hung out with the guys, same old stuff." But my voice cracks on the last word, a tiny fracture in my facade, and I'm sure he hears it. I'm sure he sees right through me. I grip the counter for support, waiting for him to push, to ask more, but he just nods, his attention drifting back to the screen. I let out a shaky breath, but the relief is fleeting. Every second in this apartment feels like I'm suffocating under the weight of what I've done. The tension builds with every passing hour. I can't eat, can't sleep, can't even look at myself in the mirror without seeing the shame staring back. I keep replaying that night in my head, the way I let myself get swept away, the choices I made under the glow of those string lights by the pool. It's like a loop I can't escape, each memory sharper and more painful than the last. I'm terrified that Ethan will find out, that one of the guys will slip up, or that I'll crack under the pressure of holding this secret. And then it happens. The breaking point I've been dreading. It's late afternoon, the golden light filtering through our dusty blinds, casting long shadows across the kitchen. I'm washing dishes, trying to keep my mind busy, when Ethan walks in, his work boots still on, grease smudges on his jeans from the garage. He leans against the doorway, arms crossed, and there's something in his expression I can't quite read. "So," he starts, his voice low, almost too calm. "Ryan swung by the shop today to drop off some tools." He seemed off, kept avoiding my eyes, like he didn't want to talk. Did something happen at Jake's place that night? My heart stops. It's like the floor drops out from under me, and I'm falling, grasping for anything to hold on to. The dish I'm holding slips from my hands, clattering into the sink with a loud crash, and I flinch, my breath hitching. I don't know what you mean," I stammer, turning to face him, but my voice is a mess, shaky and thin. I can feel the heat rising to my face, sweat beading on my forehead despite the chill in the room. My hands are trembling as I grip the edge of the sink, trying to steady myself, but it's no use. He's watching me now, really watching, his eyes narrowing as he steps closer. "Holly, what's going on?" he presses, and there's an edge to his tone now, a shift from curiosity to suspicion that cuts right through me. It's been days since I stood in that kitchen, my world shattering as I spilled the ugly truth to Ethan. I couldn't hold it in any longer, not with his piercing gaze cutting through every flimsy lie I tried to weave. So, I told him everything. Every reckless moment by that pool, every boundary I crossed with his closest friends. The words tumbled out like poison, burning my throat as I spoke them, and the look on his face. I'll never forget it. It wasn't just anger. It was devastation, like I'd taken a hammer to the foundation of everything we'd built. Since then, our tiny apartment has turned into a frozen wasteland. Ethan barely speaks to me. He's taken to sleeping on the couch, curled up under a thin blanket, while I lie alone in our bed, the sheets cold and empty without him. I cry myself to sleep most nights, the silence between us louder than any shouting match we've ever had. It's not just quiet, it's suffocating, a heavy void that presses down on me every second of the day. I've tried to reach out, to bridge this chasm I created. I've apologized over and over, my voice breaking as I beg for forgiveness, for any sign that he might still see me as the woman he married. But he just looks right through me, his eyes hollow, like I'm a stranger he doesn't recognize anymore. I can see the trust we had, that unshakable bond, lying in pieces at our feet, and I don't know if there's any way to put it back together. I've lost more than just Ethan's warmth. Desperate for some kind of anchor, I reached out to Adam, Jake, and Ryan, hoping for, I don't know, Maybe a shred of understanding, or at least an explanation for how we all let things spiral so far out of control. But they've shut me out too. My calls go unanswered, my texts sit unread, or worse, they're met with curt replies that make it clear they want nothing to do with me. Adam, who always had a quick quip to lighten the mood, didn't even pick up the phone. Jake sent a single message saying he's busy, and Ryan, quiet as ever, just left me on read. It's like I've been erased from their lives, left to drown in my guilt with no one to throw me a lifeline. I'm isolated, trapped in this cage of my own making, with only my thoughts to keep me company. And believe me, they're not kind. Every memory of that night plays on repeat, a cruel reminder of the choices I made. The way I betrayed not just Ethan, but the family we'd built with those guys. I'm alone now, truly alone, and the weight of it is crushing. Yesterday, I stumbled across something that broke me all over again. I was cleaning out a drawer in our bedroom, trying to keep my hands busy so my mind wouldn't wander to dark places, when I found an old photo tucked between some papers. It was from our wedding day, that hurried little ceremony at the courthouse. In the picture, Ethan and I are standing outside, the sun shining down on us, and we're smiling so wide it looks like our faces might split. I'm holding that cheap grocery store bouquet, and he's got his arm around me, pulling me close like he couldn't bear to let go. We were so full of hope back then, so sure that love would be enough to carry us through anything. I sat on the edge of the bed, clutching that photo, and the tears came hard and fast. I sobbed until my chest ached, until there was nothing left but this hollow feeling inside me. I realized in that moment that I might have lost that version of us forever. The version where we were unbreakable, where his smile was mine, and mine alone. I don't know if we can ever get back to that place, or if he'll ever look at me with anything other than pain in his eyes. I've spent hours turning it over in my mind, wondering if there's any path forward for us. Can we rebuild what we had, piece by fragile piece, or is this fracture too deep to mend? Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.